The film opens in a sleek, futuristic New York, a city where almost every aspect of daily life has been outsourced to technology. Rachel Novey, a smartly dressed executive at the powerful tech corporation Pegasus, lives in an immaculate apartment filled with smart devices and digital assistants. Everything is optimized. Her morning coffee prepared by AI, her appointments scheduled by algorithms, even her nature therapy sessions conducted through simulated pods where projected trees sway and artificial birds sing. Despite the constant hum of progress, Rachel appears slightly out of place, carrying a quiet sense of yearning that her structured life cannot fully suppress. Her husband, Alvi Novey, is her opposite. A botanist and university professor, Alvi spends his days teaching about real plants, soil, and photosynthesis, subjects that feel antiquated in a world where most people interact with nature only through technology. He cares for potted plants in his lab, gently tending to them, his hands always slightly dirty with soil. To him, nature is irreplaceable. To society, it's becoming irrelevant. The contrast between Rachel's corporate ambitions and Alvi's devotion to natural life defines their relationship. They love each other deeply, but their worlds are slowly diverging. Rachel receives a significant promotion at Pegasus, marking a milestone in her career. Along with the new position comes a company benefit, a highly coveted spot at the womb center, an elite facility offering artificial wombs, egg-shaped pods that allow families to grow their babies outside the human body. These pods are sleek, glowing devices, filled with artificial amniotic fluid, constantly monitored by AI, and capable of sending updates to a parent's phone. Pegasus markets them as liberating, promising women freedom from the physical demands of pregnancy so they can remain fully active in their careers and lives. At first, Rachel hesitates. She has dreams of being pregnant in the traditional sense. Images of cradling her belly and holding her newborn haunt her at night. But the pressures of her career and the culture around her weigh heavily. At a workplace seminar, colleagues praise the pod system as the pinnacle of feminist progress, women no longer having to choose between motherhood and ambition. Gradually, Rachel becomes convinced this is the path she must take. Alvi, however, is stunned and deeply resistant. He insists that pregnancy is natural, beautiful, and irreplaceable. He worries that surrendering it to machines strips life of its meaning. But Rachel insists, framing it as empowerment, and eventually Alvi, though uneasy, agrees for her sake. When they first bring the pod home, it feels strange, alien even. The egg-shaped device glows faintly, pulsing with a heartbeat, and emits subtle, mechanical sounds. Rachel connects with it cautiously, unsure how to feel, while Alvi slowly becomes attached. He sings to it, rocks it gently, even takes it out to the park, setting it in a sandbox as if it were already their child. Watching him, Rachel is unsettled, both relieved by his tenderness and pained by her own ambivalence. She continues to dream of carrying a child inside her, of natural pregnancy, but now her reality is mediated by a machine. The pod integrates itself into their daily routine. Their AI home assistant constantly reminds them about feeding times, mood tracking, and bonding exercises. Through an app, they can talk to the baby or send soothing sounds into the pod. At work, Rachel's colleagues praise her for embracing the future. She's invited to dinners where women discuss balancing careers and family, holding up the pod as the ultimate solution. But Alvi becomes increasingly isolated in these conversations, his objections dismissed as old-fashioned. Their differences grow sharper, though their love remains evident. As weeks pass, Rachel becomes restless. Her dreams intensify, visions of pregnancy and labor, images of holding her child against her chest. She begins to feel that she has given up something essential, though she struggles to admit it. Her AI therapist, represented as a large blinking eye on a screen, assures her that what she feels is normal, nothing more than phantom pregnancy. But Rachel is unconvinced. The digital reassurances feel hollow compared to the visceral longing inside her. Meanwhile, Alvi's bond with the pod grows stronger. He treats it almost like a newborn, carrying it around, speaking to it, even building a small wooden cradle for it. At one point, he places the pod among his plants in his lab, convinced that exposure to real nature will benefit the child. This act, though tender, also underlines the growing difference between his naturalist worldview and Rachel's tech-driven environment. At a company dinner, the couple's tensions surface publicly. Rachel, pressured by her peers, praises the womb center as a triumph for women, saying motherhood no longer has to cost them their careers. Alvy bristles, arguing that parenthood is being commodified, stripped of intimacy. The disagreement embarrasses Rachel, but also makes her question her own choices. As the pod nears full term, the womb center demands that Rachel and Alvy return for the scheduled induction. The center's doctors insist the process cannot be delayed, despite earlier promises of flexibility. Rachel feels trapped by the corporate grip on her pregnancy. Alvy, too, is frustrated by the lack of control. The tension culminates in a bold decision: they will take the pod and leave the city. The couple retreats to a rustic cabin on Shell Island, a place far from Pegasus's reach, surrounded by trees, ocean air, and quiet. Here, for the first time in months, they reconnect with each other and with nature. Alvy sets up the pod in a cradle by the window, while Rachel walks along the shore, trying to reconcile her dreams with her reality. For a brief time, peace returns. But their decision has consequences. Without the womb center systems, the pod begins to fail. Monitors shut down, alarms trigger, and the once steady hum of life inside the capsule falters. Panic grips them as they realize they may lose the baby if they cannot act. Rachel, racked with emotion, confesses her deepest wish: to experience motherhood in a real, natural way. She cannot bear the thought of their child being entirely a product of Pegasus's machines. With Alvy's help, they decide to break open the pod themselves, despite the risk. In a tense, desperate sequence, Alvy carefully dismantles the pod's casing, guided only by instinct and love. The capsule opens, and inside is their son, fragile, wet, but breathing. Rachel cradles him against her chest, overcome with emotion. For the first time, she feels complete. The morning after, the couple prepares to return to the city. Alvy carefully packs the remnants of the pod, while Rachel holds their newborn tightly. When they arrive at the womb center, Rachel quietly drops off the broken shell, fulfilling her obligation but signaling her rejection of the corporate system. She walks away without looking back, determined to raise her child on her own terms, not according to Pegasus's design. The story seems to close on a hopeful note, with Rachel and Alvy united by their child and their choice. But the film delivers one final twist in a mid-credits scene. The CEO of Pegasus appears on a polished news broadcast, smiling as he unveils the company's next advancement: AI-assisted embryo development that can accelerate growth, improve genetic traits, and even allow babies to choose their parents. He speaks with optimism, presenting it as the natural next step for humanity. But the implication is chilling. Technology is moving beyond convenience into full control of human evolution. The film ends with this uneasy vision, leaving Rachel and Alvy's natural choice in stark contrast to the corporate future that looms over society.